Well, they've gone and done it. The United States government is officially closed, not because of a budget crisis, not because of a natural disaster, but because Senate Democrats are holding your country hostage over one insane demand: billions of your tax dollars for illegal alien health care. While federal workers go without paychecks and military families wonder how they're going to buy groceries, Chuck Schumer bows to the radical left's ultimatum. And the press secretary today didn't mince words this morning. The shutdown belongs to the Democrats, period. What you're about to see is going to make you pretty upset. The tweets, the admissions, the pure arrogance as they sacrifice American families for foreign lawbreakers. Keep on watching. Now, gold, if you know, it's gone totally mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere. Prices keep climbing every day. More and more Americans are catching on to the power of gold. But how do you actually take advantage of it? How do you invest in a way that's simple, safe, and built for the long run? That is where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They are the specialists, and they're trained to help investors like you go from confused to confident, from wondering what's next to knowing exactly what to do. Whether you're looking to roll over an old 401k into a gold IRA, or you want physical coins and bars delivered right to your home, Noble Gold makes the process simple, safe, and stress-free. You're going to get step-by-step guidance, transparent pricing, and a U.S.-based service from a team that's handled over $2.5 billion in precious metals transactions. With Noble Gold Investments, protecting and growing your wealth isn't just their job, it is their commitment. Visit nextnewsgold.com to claim your free wealth protection kit. That's nextnewsgold.com, because Noble Gold will help you build a stronger future. Or you can call them 877-646-5347. That's the number on the screen. So let's jump over to the White House real quick here. The press secretary announcing the government shutdown.
This government shutdown is no doubt going to impact everyday Americans, and it is the fault of the Democrats that we are in this position. And I know I relayed some programs that will be impacted. The Vice President did as well, but I just want to make sure the American public understand what the Democrats have done to our government and our country. 1.3 million active duty troops will work now without pay. Critical food assistance for low-income women, infants, and children will now lapse. No new mothers or children are allowed to join this critical program because of the Democrats' decision to shut down the government. Telehealth services for seniors and in-home treatment options for Medicare patients will now come to an end. Nearly 50,000 members of the United States Coast Guard are going to have to work unpaid. Over 13,000 air traffic controllers will work without pay, as well as TSA agents, which will very likely create flight disruptions. And pay will now stop for over 150,000 federal law enforcement officers. These are not just numbers and statistics. These are real Americans who have families at home. And I saw some Democrat members today saying they're still going to accept their paychecks because they have 3 kids at home and they have mouths to feed. Well, so do these federal workers who those same Democrats just voted to shut down the government and turn off their pay. And we believe that's very unfair, and it's why the administration wants to see the government reopened. The
Democrats are working right now to destroy the United States of America, to cripple everything that makes us great, to slow down President Trump and all of his momentum. By shutting down the government, this is what will happen. But of course, Nancy Pelosi, she is absolutely triggered because a reporter asked if AOC is calling the shots. You see, AOC is their rising star in the Democrat Party. She's making a lot of noise, no doubt has presidential aspirations. And, well, let's just go to Pelosi. Look at her. Look at how animated she is.
She's directing. There was a thought from the Republicans that AOC is directing this, and she said that senators are welcome to go to her office directly. Is she driving that?
Why are you saying such a ridiculous thing?
I'm just quoting what AOC said. She said go to her office directly. Do you think there's any credibility to that?
She's not directing this. She's wonderful. She's a real team player.
She was about to say a real pain in the ass is what she's saying.
And the rest of that. You started by saying Republicans saying that she's directing this. She is not. Hakeem Jeffries is. And this takes a lot of experience, a lot of unity from the caucus in terms of the point of view. And that's what this is. She's an articulate spokesperson for her point of view, Hakeem Jeffries.
was a
Hakeem. Yeah, bring it up. Hakeem is the guy, right? Stephen Chung, who is one of the top dogs over there at the White House, 2 hours ago, posting this, Democrat shutdown. And he was quote tweeting Fox News. Check this out.
I just want to get to that. The Senate is now finished with that procedural vote on the House-backed Republican proposal. And this has to do with breaking the filibuster because they want to get to funding the government. At least I hope Democrats want to get to that. I don't know. Theirs failed earlier, and this was the Republican vote. We don't expect these to necessarily pass. But remember, you get to see who's on the record, particularly among the Dems, who's going to pull over. Democrats lost a couple of votes yesterday on this. It's 55-45 in terms of yeas and nays on this one. 2 Democrats and 1 independent voted with Republicans yesterday, and that seems to hold again now. So that's particularly what I'm watching for. Senator John Fetterman, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, and independent Angus King of Maine are still yeses. So they're voting with Republicans on their version.
Wow, Fetterman voting with Republicans. Oh, man, that guy's growing on me. Kind of like that lump on his neck. Remember that?
Of a continuing resolution at this point. This while the government remains shut down. Democrats, I don't know what they'll do next, but if they continue to lose members, you got to get to 60. So we are watching this very closely. Majority Leader John Thune is forcing these votes today and will likely continue to do so in the days ahead in an effort to get Democrats to open the government, but also get them on the record for not wanting to participate in keeping the government open.
What else have we got for you here? We got more from the press secretary. An amazing press conference today. JD Vance showed up unexpectedly, and that was remarkable. But let's get to the press secretary here. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do.
Unfortunately, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do, and it's because the Democrats have put us into this position. If the Democrats did not vote to shut down the government, we would not be standing up here talking about layoffs today. We'd be talking about all the other news stories going on in the world in our country. We'd be talking about all of the great things that this administration is doing to uplift Americans across the country. But
yep, see, I just told you. I just called it. You see? By having the government shut down, it takes over the narrative, and you can no longer present the great things that President Trump is doing. Oh, this is all by design.
Fortunately, the Vice President of the United States and I have to come out here today to talk about a government shutdown that the Democrats put us in this position. And sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And
here's more from the press secretary. Democrats shut down the government because
Democrats in Congress have officially shut down the United States government. House Republicans passed a nonpartisan, clean piece of legislation to extend current government funding until November 21st. But nearly every single Democrat senator voted against this bill. To be clear, this was the exact same bill that Democrats approved 6 short months ago in March, just adjusted for inflation. This is the same kind of clean funding bill that Democrats passed 13 separate times when they held the majority during Joe Biden's administration. So the American people woke up this morning and asked the obvious question: why is the government shut down right now? The answer is pure partisan politics being played by the Democrat Party. The Democrats shut down the government because President Trump and the Republicans will not force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegal aliens. America is $37 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to provide taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals who broke the law to enter our country. To put this all into perspective, the Democrats refused to keep the government open over health care to illegal aliens and now have jeopardized critical health care programs for American citizens instead. The Women, Infants, and Children program, community health center funding, Medicare treatment options, and other health programs are now all at risk because of the Democrats rejecting the clean CR. The most vulnerable in our country are being punished because the Democrats want to prioritize illegals over American citizens. And if Democrats actually cared about health care, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump just yesterday in the Oval Office. He took a bold and massively popular action to improve our healthcare system. He announced the first agreement with a major pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, to lower drug costs for Americans. This is a historical achievement long sought by past Democrat presidents that only President Trump was able to get done. Democrats in Congress.
President Trump getting things done, but the Democrats want to lock it all up. Here's more from the press secretary just a few hours ago. The American people want the government reopened.
Sean O'Brien, individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans. The labor union leader, the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, sent a very blunt message to Democrats over their destructive antics. He said American workers are not bargaining chips. Senators need to stop screwing around and pass the House-passed clean short-term funding bill. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest business organization, called to immediately pass the Republican Clean CR, saying, quote, shutdowns are harmful to the economy, the American people, and our national security. And even Democrat Senators Cortez Masto and Fetterman acknowledged that their party is betraying the American people with this costly and chaotic Democrat shutdown. Enough is enough. Democrats need to stop sabotaging our country and holding the American people hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened, and this is proven in a New York Times poll showing that 2 in 3 Americans say the government should not be shut down by the Democrats, even if their absurd demands are not met. The president and Republicans are working very hard to reopen the federal government. The vice president here has been crucial in this effort. We encourage all Americans across the country, call your Democrat senators and encourage them to reopen the government. That's what President Trump and the vice president want to do. And individuals and organizations.
But of course, kids who are trying to go on tours of the Capitol building or anything like that, they're going to get locked out, right? Can you imagine all those crying children? The American people want it open. They've shut down. Here's Vance.
That they care a lot about. Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering health care costs, and yet when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen. What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to health care funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition. Democrats.
You know what's crazy about what he said there? And I caught it. He said Schumer and AOC, right? He didn't say Hakeem Jeffries. He didn't say Pelosi, right? And that's why Pelosi was so triggered, because everybody knows it's the radical wing of the Democrat Party that's pulling the strings behind the scene. The old guard Democrats have lost all their ground. That's why the Democrat Party is going totally insane with all of the woke nonsense. And of course, healthcare for illegals. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And they're actually fighting for this. That's one of their stipulations to get the government open. Wow. Here's more from the vice president.
Agreements. We all understand that Democrats and Republicans have policy disagreements. The Democrats want to do things. Look, when Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were in here a couple of days ago, they made some suggestions that the president was more than happy to say, yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the health care crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the health care crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say that we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want, which, as Caroline says, does includes giving billions of dollars of taxpayer funding for health care for illegal migrants. That's ridiculous. You don't have policy disagreements that serve as the basis for a government shutdown. Let's have the conversation about how to fix American health care, about how to make health care more accessible. As the president showed, he's more than willing to act on behalf of the American people for this very reason. What you don't do is say, unless you do exactly what we want to do as congressional Democrats, we're taking a hostage. And the hostage, it turns out, is critical, essential services that the American people need. Caroline talked about some of it. Let me talk about some more. Our troops are not getting paid starting today because of the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democratic Party. We have people who require food assistance, low-income Americans who require food assistance, who will not get it unless we reopen the government, thanks to Chuck Schumer and his wing of the Democratic Party. We have flood insurance as we start hurricane season in the southeastern part of our country. That flood insurance is going to disappear because of Chuck Schumer and the far left of the Democratic Party. We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them. But let's reopen the government before we have our negotiation about health care policy. That's what the American people demand, and that's certainly what the President of the United States wants.
JD Vance on fire today in the press briefing room. Democrats now have a 16% approval rating. Their solution, shut down the government because they want to give illegals free health care. Cat Turd was being quote tweeted on this woman who has a different opinion.
Democrats are fighting. When Republicans tell their MAGA voters that Democrats are fighting for health care for illegal immigrants, I mean, does that make sense to them? What would be the upside? I'm one of the people the Democrats are fighting for their health care because I'm on the Affordable Care Act, because I own a small business and I have for 15 years. I'm actually working right now in my garage, packaging things up. It's not a glamorous job. And I get my health care that I can afford for my family off the Affordable Care Act. And the premium is about to go up 85%. Why would Democrats be fighting for health care for illegal immigrants? People who are here undocumented. Those people are afraid to go to work right now. They're not going to hospitals and doctors' offices, and it's already illegal for them to get health care through Medicaid. That's not something that exists. And they're rounding these people up and sending them out of the country. What would be the upside for Democrats to fight for that? I mean, I just want to know, how does that make sense to them? How do they just hear that and believe it? Democrats are fighting for health care for U.S. citizens like myself and many other families.
Clearly, she is disillusioned with the Democrats' own position. Here we have, check this out. Here's Ro Khanna. Mama Bear writes, confirmed the Democrats are asking for money to fund illegal health care. No, Americans first. Quote tweeting Eric Darty. Holy crap. Representative Ro Khanna says the quiet part out loud. Listen carefully. The amount of money actually going towards people that are undocumented is a small portion of the Medicaid cuts for the ACA. He just outright confirms it.
Citizens. In terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens. In terms
so
of
what about the other
healthcare,
5%? Huh? Help me understand that, Ro. Help me understand it. Here's more JD Vance. He was on Fox and Friends this morning.
Have travel delays, the potential effects of the government shutdown, mass furloughs, federal employees and active duty military members don't get paychecks. We have travel delays. You mentioned TSA, Social Security and SNAP and WI and WIC applications, delays in Medicare and Medicaid payments, some VA services and career counseling. So these are some of the things that will happen. Smithsonian could be closed, National Zoo. I hope someone feeds the animals, but we're not going to be able to see the animals. The potential effects of the government shutdown.
Of course, that JD Vance didn't say anything there. That was Brian Kilmeade. Here is, of course, Chuck Schumer on CNN.
Shutdown. Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol Hill.
I was just going to say, they shut the power down on Capitol Hill. But I jest. Hakeem Jeffries has no answer when asked by CNN how the Democrats will end their government shutdown.
But what is the exit strategy here from a shutdown? Because once the government is shut down, which it will be in 2 hours, how do you get out of this? There's one Democrat who told CNN there is no way to play this shutdown game and win. And Democrats know that because Republicans, for the last several shutdowns, have been the ones playing this game. So how are you going to get out of it if we are in a shutdown?
Again, correct me if I'm wrong in terms of the Republican perspective, but Republicans have been lecturing America all year that they control the government and that they're jamming their policy preferences down the throats of the American people. So how is it the case that at this particular moment in time, they're suddenly at the mercy of Democrats who are in the minority in the House or in the Senate when Donald Trump has consistently behaving like he's all powerful?
But what is the exit strategy?
It's because we need 60 votes. Okay? We have a clean continuing resolution, and you guys won't shift enough votes over to get that continuing resolution passed. So that is how you, Hakeem, are holding the U.S. government and the American people hostage. So just because the Republicans hold the executive, the judicial, the legislative, it's irrelevant if the votes aren't there. So nice try, buddy. Nice try. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this shutdown exposes the Democrats' true priorities. Illegal aliens over American citizens. Every unpaid federal worker, every military family scraping by, every delayed Social Security check, that's on Chuck Schumer and his radical puppeteers like AOC. They'd rather see America burn than deny free health care to border jumpers. 2/3 of Americans demand the government reopen without these insane demands. Yet Democrats dig in deeper. They call it compassion. I call it treason. When you put foreign lawbreakers ahead of the citizens who pay your salary, ahead of the military who keeps us safe, you've gone and broken your oath of office. So the question is simple, and I'll pose it to you. Should American taxpayers be forced to pay for illegal alien health care while their own families go without? Drop a yes or no. Let's have a conversation in the comments. This is the hill the Democrats chose to die on, so let them. And while they play politics, you can check out our merch shop. It's still open. It's linked below. You can wear your patriotism proudly because America first means America first, period.